right, let's do a few examples. Now, in all of these examples, notice that the numerator for all of these exponents is 1. So we're going to do examples with numerators of 1, and then later we'll do examples with numerators of different numbers. So your general rule for each one is over here on the left. They're all the same. You'll notice that anytime you have a base to the power 1/2, the 2 is what would come in front of the radical, but typically we don't see a little 2 written right here because we understand that this is the square root. So since we understand that this is the square root, typically we don't see the number written in front there. All right, so if we were going to convert 49 to the power 1/2, which is called exponential form, if we're going to convert that into radical form, we're just going to take the denominator and it's going to come in front and we're going to put a radical around it. So that's going to look like 2 with the radical. So that's the square root of 49 to the power 1. Now, after we convert all of these, then we're going to simplify them because we can find that this is actually a whole number. The square root of 49 is just 7. Right now, with the next example, we have 64 to the power 1/3. So notice here that the 3 is going to come in front of the root symbol, just like we see in the general rule. So this is going to be the 3rd root of 64 to the 1st power. And once we get done with converting all of these, then we'll go back and simplify them all. All right, the 4th root of 81, the 4 is going to become the index. So we're going to have the 4th root of 81 to the 1st power. (32 to the power 1/5). The 5 becomes the index. So we have the 5th root of 32 to the 1st power. And finally, we have 64 to the 1/6 power. So that's 6 is going to become our root, our index. So this is going to be the 6th root of 64 to the 1st power. So now what this means is when you have the root of something or something to a power of 1 over some number, that means if we have, so think about the square root of 49. That means what number times itself. What number 2 times, when you multiply it together, gives you 49. So the same thing applies when you have the 3rd root or the cube root. So I do want to mention that. The 3rd root of something is called the cube root. So you may see that sometimes. But the cube root of 64 means what number times itself 3 times will give me 64. Well, you can test this out. So let's just test the number 2, right? If I did 2 times 2 times 2, that gives me 4 times 2, which is 8. So 8 is not my answer because that's not the same number times itself 3 times, which gives us 64. So let's try something else. Let's try 4. 4 times 4 times 4, that would be 16 times 4, and that does give me 64. So 4 is the cube root of 64. Now, same thing, the 4th root of 81. Well, we know 9 times 9 is 81, so let's try 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, right? Because this is 9 times 9, which is 81. So 3 is the 4th root of 81. Now for 32. That's a relatively small number, so let's try 2 again. 2 times 2 times 2, 5 times. So that's 4 times 4 times 2. So 16 times 2 gives us 32. So 2 is the fifth root of 32. And then 64 again. So the sixth root means what number times itself 6 times. So we can test 2 again. 6 times, so that's 4 times 4 times 4. So 16 times 4, which is 64. So 2 is the sixth root of 64. Now, of course, you can type this into Desmos. You can use the root symbol in Desmos and just type in 6 as your root, and it will give you that. Or you can even type in this into Desmos, just like that, and it will give you 2.